Hey guys, what's up? A lot of people have concerns about purchasing vehicles in Paraguay and they wonder, is it better if I import one? Or what do I look for if I purchase a vehicle in Paraguay? Today, I'm going to go over our experience with both of those. We've purchased a vehicle in Paraguay, we've imported one. What would we do differently if we were to do it again? We initially decided to import a vehicle here because we knew vehicles in Paraguay were more expensive than in Canada, which is where we came from. And I'm guessing they're also likely quite a bit more than what they would be in Europe or the US. We also knew we could avoid almost all, if not completely all, the taxes on importing the vehicle. We would also know pretty well on what we had if we brought one of our own. Now, when it ended up coming to the port here in Paraguay, we found out that we were going to be paying taxes. We actually ended up paying almost $5,000 in US dollars in taxes on a vehicle that we had paid roughly $18,000 for. And we were not expecting that. So there was the shipping cost, there was the importing, we had purchased the vehicle not too long before we imported it here. And we could have saved ourselves from buying a 40-foot shipping container, just done a 20-foot if we really did want to still import any of our goods here. So the cost ended up actually being quite a bit. And then we ended up living in an area where the road is really rough. It is not kept well at all. So we really didn't want to damage the vehicle, wreck it by driving it all the time. We didn't have it here very long when it needed new airbags, and parts were a lot harder to find here. We ended up ordering them on Amazon, which wasn't too terribly costly, but when they came, they were also not 100% matching, like the quality wise, to the ones that the vehicle had come with. While we had been waiting for that car to arrive here, we had purchased one here because we figured it'd be really nice to have two vehicles. We knew we would have to drive our kids to school, and my husband was going to be working. We didn't quite know what his job was going to all entail, so two cars was going to be really handy. We purchased a cheap one here. It ended up being a 2011 Chevy Cruze because it was diesel, four-door, and fuel efficient, which we also should have gone about a little bit differently than what we did. We looked at several cars. We had actually intended on going to look at this one first because we already liked it. We had found it on Facebook Marketplace, and the price was just a little high. We ended up getting them down somewhat, but later noticed some things that we could have used to get it even lower had we still wanted to buy it, even if we had found this before purchasing. And that was the mileage had been manipulated. There's no way that a 2011 Chevy Cruze is going to just have 90,000 kilometers, but we knew that ahead of time it likely was quite a bit higher. After we had purchased it, I found a sticker in the door that read 240 some thousand kilometers, and the date was just a couple days prior to us purchasing it. It is also common for vehicles to be purchased that are written off in other countries that have been in pretty severe collisions. They've been fixed up, imported here, and sold that way. This is likely the case for ours. I guess it probably wasn't too severe because it doesn't seem to be in rough shape accordingly, but it does have some spots that you can tell that it used to probably be a black car and is now a white car. And we also only noticed that later. So that's something to watch out for. With purchasing, something that was a little bit weird to us at first is the fact that a lot of people like to keep the previous owner's name on the ownership of the vehicle. This is because there's extra taxes to changing the name over to the buyer, and there's also an additional fee for the title itself. Changing the title can also be pretty time consuming, so it's going to be a while before people actually get the vehicle on their name. When we were registering our vehicle here that we imported, it costed us several hundred US dollars to register it, and then it took roughly 2 months before it was even fully registered. So let's break this down really quick. For importing a vehicle, there's going to be the shipping cost, the duty, which is calculated 30 to 37% of what that vehicle would cost purchasing here in Paraguay. And then the registering, all of that. Plus you have to consider, am I going to be able to find parts in Paraguay for this vehicle, or are they always going to have to be ordered from elsewhere, making it more costly? All those things. Is it worth it or not? Now, with all the things there are to consider when purchasing a vehicle here, which is higher price and Is it going to be kept up with maintenance? Is it going to be reliable? Is the odometer going to be way out? All these things kind of leaves you in a limbo when choosing which way you should go. So let's break down and compare the pros and cons to importing a vehicle versus purchasing one here. The cons to importing is all the costs that come with it. There is the shipping. There is the initially, at some point or another, you have either purchased a vehicle or are going to purchase one to import. And then you have the duties that come with it, which generally that is 30 to 37% of taxes on whatever the price of that vehicle would be here. So that can be quite a bit. But the pro with importing is you have a better peace of mind of knowing what you have. And for whatever vehicle you may be importing, parts may also not be very easily accessible here in Paraguay. Now, the cons to purchasing a vehicle here is that the odometer may not be accurate, and the price is going to be most likely higher here than if you would purchase a similar vehicle in Europe or in North America. Now, the pros with purchasing a vehicle here is the process is going to be a lot easier and more straightforward than what it would be to import a vehicle going through customs and shipping it and all of that. Also, if it's a pretty common vehicle around here, then parts will be easily accessible and any shop will be able to get their hands on them. So what would we do if we were to do this over again? And what would I recommend for anyone else to do? Obviously, you have to kind of go over your own situation and what your priorities are. But what we would do is come here with no vehicle. We would purchase one here first, assess kind of what is popular in the area, what do a lot of dealerships have, and then we would go to one that other people find pretty trustable. A few vehicles we would consider is a Toyota Hilux or a Toyota Fortuner. The parts around here for those are widely accessible and a lot of people have them and they're very reliable vehicles. If we were to get one on the really cheap end, it would be a Japanese built over, which is built from a right-hand drive to a left-hand drive. And we would just make sure that it is built over really well and look at several ones, test drive a couple different ones, see how the handling is and all of that before purchasing. The one dealership around here that I would highly recommend is No Limits. A lot of Mennonites go there to get their vehicles, so they obviously have to be trustable and reliable. I can tell you they wouldn't go back there if they were not. And they also do have a good mix of mostly new, but also really good used vehicles quite often. Now, I hope this video has helped you. If it did, please hit like and subscribe, and that would greatly help out my channel.